This video is going to cover Chapter 10 materials with the title of Collections in the Medical Office, and you'll see that Chapter 10 begins on page 384 in your book if you want to follow along. And the first part of the chapter deals with some particulars, and it has to do with what do we do after we have put everything into the software properly, build the insurance plan, then send a remainder statement to the patient for anything that the insurance plan didn't pay for, and then we still don't get any money. That's what Chapter 10 is about. It's following up with those issues. Maybe the patient isn't paying, there are issues, and some things to be aware of as well. Your office might have a policy what to do with these kinds of things, but you need to be aware of what happens here. And if you look on page 384 in your book, on the one hand, the insurance companies have guidelines and laws that they have to follow to make sure they pay in a timely fashion. And they define that as prompt payment laws. And there are times when they have legitimate reasons why they will deny a claim put together by a facility or an office for a patient. On page 385, you'll see that table at the bottom, common reasons for claim denials. Maybe that it's not covered, maybe they're out of network, maybe it's not a medical necessity. You can see all those things there. And then they talk about the importance on page 386 and 87, the importance of having some kind of financial policy for your patients to know and understand about. And they give you an example of that on page 388. Page 389, they discuss what do you do if after you've received payment from the insurance plan, you sent a remainder statement to the patient saying, hey, here's the balance that's owed. If you remember in our last session, I talked about right now that percentage used to be insurance plans paid 80% of the bill and the patient was left with the remaining 20% on average. Now it's about 65-35. The insurance plan pays about 65%. The patient pays the remaining 35%. So that can be cost prohibitive for many folks. But what do you do? So from an office perspective, on page 389, they have a patient collection timeline. That first 30 days within the bill is considered on time. After 30 days, then we call them and say, hey, you've got an outstanding bill. If after 60 days we don't hear anything, then we send a collection letter. And Chapter 10 is about generating a collection letter using this Metasoft program. After 75 days, if we don't receive any payment, then if we are really good at our billing portion of things, and I've talked about that before on if it were my facility, I'd probably be watching this pretty closely because this is the source of income. Now, that being said, remember there are a lot of people out there just struggling to get by, and there are a lot of large medical bills that we just don't foresee, we can't plan for. Even when we do plan for, we're shocked whenever they come in and how much money that we do owe. So, there are a lot of folks that are struggling. A lot of doctors and facilities might say, you know what, they'll let them pay as they can. Let's set up a payment plan. And you'll see them discussing that as well on page 390. But if we're on top of things, we would send out collection letters, and then eventually, depending on the facility, they might turn it over to a collection agency. So we're going to look at all of those things in this chapter. And now, as a heads up, on page 390, they talk about laws that govern how we collect from patients, and that's covered under the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act and the Telephone Consumer Protection Act. There are things that we can't do. You cannot call patients at an unreasonable time, and they define that as before 8 a.m. or after 9 p.m. You can't make threats or use profanity. You can't discuss their debt with anyone except their legal representative. You can't use deception or violence to try and collect them. You can't impersonate a police officer or a law officer, any of those things. And they mention those because that used to be pretty standard, unfortunately. People would get that all the time. So let's talk about this first scenario, exercise 10.1 on page 391. Here we have a patient, Ali Masloom, and let me go pull him up to show you what it looks like and how much debt he has here. So we see he's covered by Blue Cross and Blue Shield, and he owes us $720.50. Now, according to our instructions on page 391, the date that we are looking at is October 31st, and we encountered him. He came into our office on July the 1st. So what's going on? there's $720 outstanding. You know, it's not like it's $50 here. $720, but if you look at it, he's covered by Blue Cross and Blue Shield, but he has a $1,000 yearly deductible. So he's responsible for the first $1,000 of his medical bills, and he hasn't paid. So we're going to, what has happened is they give you the scenario here. It's been more than 90 days past due. What we did is turned it over to a collection agency, and they acquired or got back for us 50% of how much was owed. So half of this $720.50 they got for us. Well, they also, this collection agency also gets money from us because they get 25% of whatever they collect. So they get money out of this, and so this is what we're going to do. If you follow along with me on page 391, we're going to, I'm down to step 6. And I'm going to go down to the bottom in the payments and adjustments column. Now look here, I want to show you this. We put all these charges, possible payments for it under the payments column, but look, it's meeting the deductible. So the software can keep track for us. Oh, look, for this first one was $178 right up here. That's part of the deductible. So it's not going to get paid yet. You see the zero amount because of this. Patient has to pay $1,000 first. So you come on down to new, and we're going to put in something different here. And I didn't change the date, but oh well. 10/31/2016 is the date that we're going to do this, and we want to look for patient payment from collections. Here, let's do this. They're gonna want us to select 04 right here, collections payment. There we go. And Ali paid. He didn't pay us directly. He paid a collection agency. And under the description, we're going to type in collections payment. And the amount here is going to be $270.19. And the reason why it's not 50%, like I said at the top, is because we had to subtract out the collection agency fee of over $90 as well. Right? And if that doesn't make sense, look on page 391. They kind of explain that and walk you through that. Let me tab through this. Do we have a check number? No, I don't see it there. Okay, we're going to go apply this now. Now, here's the thing. The total he owes us is $720 if you were to sit down and add these all up. We don't have $720. We've got to keep track of our unapplied up here in the corner. So our first charge is $178, so I'll put that in there. And once I click anywhere else, I see I only have $92.19 left. Okay, so I'm going to put that toward my second one. I'm just going to do this sequentially. And I'm going to type in 92.19. I'm down to 0. I can't put anything more toward it. I'm going to close it, and I'm going to save my transactions. Now you'll notice, if you recall from the earlier chapters, white means it's fully paid, aqua means it's partially paid, gray means no payment at all. So now his total is down to $450.31. Now if you look at exercise 10.2, we're going to keep on going here. We're going to actually write off the balance, and that's explained on page 393. Usually the amount owed is called an uncollectible account or a bad debt, and is written off the practice's expected accounts receivable. A write-off is a balance that has been removed from a patient's account. And if you read down on 10.2, the collection agency accepted 50% of the amount owed from Ali Masloom as payment in full. The practice manager has informed you that the remaining balance is to be written off, even though it is a significant amount. So we came in later. This is a month goes by. I think it tells us now, yeah, it's November the 30th, and I just didn't close it and all that good stuff. We're going to come down to the bottom again, and I'm going to click on New, and now the date is November the 30th. And here I'm looking for the code write-off. Now I know if I just type in a W, it will come up. You can certainly scroll all the way through these if you would like. And our boss their initials are SMZ. And we have to still put Ali Masloom is in there under the description. So it was authorized by our boss, SMZ. We're going to put in the amount of whatever was left, 450.31. I need to also apply this. Now be careful when you do this because I'm looking for the balances here. In this, not in the charges anymore. If you remember, our first one was fully paid off. I'm going to skip that one. And here I'm going to type in 31.81. Watch this number drop as I click in the next box. 102, 99, and my number keeps dropping up above here. 96, and then 121.5. And I should have a 0. That's great. Close it, save it, and you'll note that all the colors go away and my balance drops to 0. That takes care of exercise 10.1 and 10.2. It's a little confusing sometimes, so you've got to kind of understand what's happening here, and it takes practice. Okay, 10.3 asks you simply not to create your own patient aging by date of service, but to look on page 395 at the middle portion where they generated a patient aging by date of service for us. And they ask you to simply, in exercise 10.3, write in the name or names of the people who are 61 to 90 days overdue. And you'll see there's one person, Joe Wong. 61 to 90 days means that we have to generate a letter for them. Okay, so that's what we're going to do next. So there, 10.3 is done. Joe Wong. We'll remember that. Now, there's something special that we have to do to create a collection letter. We can't just go in and put Joe Wong's name in. There's something called creating a tickler, which is a reminder to follow up on this account. And they define that for you on page 396. And we're going to go someplace new for this. And actually, I'm just going to go to the exercise, and I'll walk you through the things as we go here. We're going to do 10.4 on page 402. We're going to go to activities and slide just about 2/3 of the way down here, and we're looking for collection list. Okay, this is, I'm going to click on a button here in just a moment. You'll notice that it puts in whatever the date is of the day today, and I'm going to, currently you see there's nobody here. Now, this is a summary screen that will show us everyone that we've created a reminder for or a tickler for to do something with their overdue account. That's what a tickler is. It is a reminder. And the software is programmed to only generate collection letters from folks whose names are on this list. So that's why it's important you understand you have to go into this. I'm going to click on Show All Ticklers, and you'll see there's nobody here. If I remove Exclude Deleted, I deleted that one a little bit ago, so we'll get rid of that. It goes through responsible party. You'll see as soon as we generate this. And all we're going to do is come down and click on New. Now, that first thing we want to do, what are we going to do? Are we going to call them? Are we going to send them a letter? What do we want to do here? And they tell us on page 402. Now, they do tell you, let me go back a moment. They tell you to put in specific dates here. I clicked on Show All instead. I prefer seeing everything as opposed to just the date parameters. You can do it as the book describes, or you can do it the way I have it here. And they want us to, in the action required, we want to type in phone call about overdue balance. See notes. Okay, and the responsible party is the patient. We are not following up with the insurance company now. We're following up with the patient because this is a remainder, overdue balance after we receive monies from the insurance company. And it's for Joe Wong. And the guarantor as well is Joe Wong. Responsible party is Joe Wong. We're not going to assign it to anybody. And the status, we are just starting it, so it's going to be open right now. And they want the follow-up date here to be... I have to look here. I'm on step 12 on page 403, 9/30/2016. Okay, so that's step 1. And under notes, this is a note for ourselves. We're going to type in the following, and this is step 14 in the book here. Patient said she could not pay the balance on the account until her Social Security check It's kind of hard to talk and type. Was deposited early next week. So these are notes to us. Okay, so until her, sorry, typo there. Until her Social Security check was not deposited until early next week. So that lets us know what's going on. And now we're going to save it. Okay, so now she appears in our tickler, or what's called a collection list. So far, so good. The next thing that we'll be doing is creating a collection letter. So that's the next part you'll see on page 404 and 405. They talk about how to do that, and let me just walk you through that. You'll see that on page 407, exercise 10.5. What we want to do now is I'm going to close this now because I'm not going to create the letter here. This was the tickler. To create the letter, we are going to go to Reports. And we're going to slide down to Collection Reports. Now be careful when you choose this because there's a collection letter report. We want to do collection letters. The report shows all the letters that have been sent out so far. We want to generate an individual letter. We'll start this. And we're going to do, they want us to do, because we put in that date of September the 30th as a follow-up date range, they want us to do that here as well. I could have done just Joe Wong to Joe Wong, but I'll show you what they want to do. Now, really important here, make sure that you click in Exclude Items that follow the payment plan, and then that opens up the next box, Generate Collection Letters and Add to Collection Tracer. Select all three of those, then say OK. Okay, now this shows a summary of what's called the collection letter report. Here's who's going to get a collection letter. Once you close this, it will ask you, do you want to generate a collection letter? Say yes to that. It's kind of, and then it asks you, what do you want? Collection letter. Say OK to that. Preview it on the screen. These are quite a few steps you have to go through. Here it is. So what it's done, it has pulled up out of the database the information that you told them and put in the amounts. You don't have to type out anything. There it is. Now, if I recall correctly, I need to send this somewhere to the printer, and I'm actually going to save it so that I can, if I don't save it or print it, if you try this and you don't save it or print it, I'm just going to save it here, I guess. If you don't save it or print it, it won't allow you to do things later. Here, I'm just jumping all over the place. Let me go here, and let me go here. And let's just save it in here. That fools the software into thinking, okay, it's been printed. Ugh, who is this Wong? Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to close this. And that takes care of exercise 10.5. And then we move on to 10.6, creating a collection tracer report. We're going to go back. It's similar, but it shows you how many letters were sent. So we're going to go to Reports, Collection Reports, Collection Tracer Report. Preview this on the screen. And they want us to leave the date range. Oh, they want us to select Joe Wong and responsible parties and then leave the dates blank below. Okay, so it shows me, yeah, ignore these different dates here. Obviously, I did this last quarter as well. I've sent it out twice so far, as you can see. Now, the only reason you can get this, if you try to do this exercise and it doesn't show up, it's because you have to save that or print out that collection letter that you generated just in the last step. So if you try to do this and it doesn't work, it's because you did not print it or save it. Okay, that's the end of Chapter 10. Good job, everybody.